Leading up to the spot Bitcoin ETF, how much money actually went into Bitcoin? How much money went in after the ETF was approved? And what are we actually looking at when it comes to XRP? I'm going to answer all those questions and more, give you a complete update of where spot ETFs in the XRP space stand and what I think is about to happen. I have a ton of news and information about that. You're going to be a professional after you see this video. Let's go ahead and watch this brand new clip talking about ETFs getting ready for capital investment.
But I thought, let's just jump right in on these crypto ETF filings I mentioned. So correct me if I'm wrong, I showed 10 filings from back in January. These are all 2 times leveraged ETFs, and they cover everything from that Trump meme coin I mentioned to XRP, Solana, Litecoin, Bonk. There are a bunch of these. And so first, let me ask, where do these currently stand with the SEC? And I'll offer the usual disclaimer. I know there's only so much you can say that with certain filings, so I'll throw that out there. But what can you tell us about these?
Yeah, and actually, interestingly, they are all just about ready to go from an effectiveness standpoint. You know, this is as I'm sure you know, an entirely.
But
All right, I just want to give you some additional information here. The US SEC is currently reviewing multiple spot ETFs. We understand that. The no spot XRP ETF has been approved as of September 11, 2025. Grayscale XRP Trust, October 18th. So this is when some of these decisions will need to come in. Grayscale, 21 shares, Bitwise. This is all between October 18th and, of course, October 25th. Canary, Wisdom, and other applicants will be between October 24th and 25th. Franklin Templeton got moved to November 14th. That was just pushed back 60 days by the SEC. The Franklin Templeton Spot XRP and Solana ETFs were pushed back. The SEC might be like, listen, the SEC has 2 choices here. One is they can give in to the market demand, or 2 is they can get sued to be pushed into doing this. Now, either way, these products will come. It depends on how much resistance the SEC wants to put in front of us. Now, looking at all of the information that the SEC has done recently, it sounds like they're bullish on blockchain. Paul Atkins is always making speeches about the golden era of digital assets and moving all of this infrastructure onto blockchain. Well, if that's the case, why do you keep kicking the can down the road? Some people are speculating that we are waiting for regulation here in the United States, and Paul Atkins is hoping that comes into place. But we are going to need some decisions soon, Paul. And I don't want to be on the other side of this. If he says no in October, I can imagine that lawyers in the XRP space will start filing cases, and that will give a lot of really negative light. Remember, to get the spot Bitcoin ETF approved, they actually had to go sue the SEC. Are we going to relive that history? I sure hope not. The SEC reclassified XRP as a commodity in August 2025, opening the door for ETF consideration and causing a surge in applications. All right. Ripple Van Winkle does have an opinion here. Let me play this.
The SEC, guess what? They just delayed Franklin Templeton's XRP ETF. But here's why this is actually bullish. Grayscale's XRP ETF, final decision is October 18th. And guess what? That's a Saturday, which means fireworks could hit days before that deadline. Here's what history shows. Every single Bitcoin ETF delay ended with approval. And those ETFs pulled in over $100 billion in just 12 months. Ethereum, $12 billion in half a year. Imagine the liquidity that is about to pour into XRP. Folks, these delays, they're not bearish. This is what we call the calm before the storm. And once that green light flashes, XRP instantly. It goes from a retail play to an institutional asset with billions in fresh inflows.
My man loves this shirt. Every time I see a clip, he's wearing the shirt. He must have like 10 of them or something. All right. Leading up to the spot Bitcoin ETF approval, how much money went in 6 weeks before approval? How much money went into the ETF after approval? 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. This is the information I wanted to show you here. Spot Bitcoin ETFs in the US were approved on January 10, 2024. After their launch, triggered significant capital inflows, both into Bitcoin before the approval and into the ETFs once trading began. In the 6 weeks leading up to the spot ETF approval, estimates suggest that the market anticipated Anticipation caused solid buying and price appreciation, with Bitcoin's price surging from 37,000 in late November to 47,000 by approval in January 2024. Exact dollars of net inflows into Bitcoin during this period are difficult to specify, but reports widely noted strong accumulation and institutional positioning prior to launch. Institutional positioning prior to launch. So there is a 95% chance, if you go to like Polymarket and all of these analytic websites that give prediction markets, they predict 95% of approval in 2025. And so institutions are looking at that like, hey, we have a 95% chance this gets approved. We're going to go ahead and play the long game here. The first month you saw, in the first 30 days, spot Bitcoin ETF saw $5 to $6 billion in inflows. Now, if you listen to Mark McClung, he's the Canary Capital CEO. He thinks $5 billion could go in the first 30 days. We could see a ton of demand. When you're looking at the CME derivatives futures, you did see the fastest growth in that platform for XRP related products. The first 3 days alone saw nearly $2 billion go into Bitcoin. By early April 2024, 3 months after, $12.1 billion in net inflows. And then you look 6 months, you're talking about 14 to 15 billion. And then he said in the first year, you saw $100 billion. And I believe overall, it's close to 150 since then. XLS 78D subscriptions are moving forward. If you're a project that's looking forward to seeing the game-changing amendment come to mainnet, research this thing. And then I wanted to just pull up some additional information on what this actually means for XRP holders. The upcoming major event to the XRP ledger introducing subscriptions or pre-authorized recurring payments directly on chain. This feature will enable automated billing and subscription-based services. So all of these different subscriptions that you have, maybe for YouTube or X or all of these things, you're going to be able to have all of this on the XRP ledger, allowing users to authorize payments with predefined amounts and frequencies, much like direct debits or traditional banking. Now, if you get paid the same amount of money every single month, imagine what this could do for payroll and things like that. Subscription mechanism on the XRP ledger, recurring payments will no longer require users to sign each payment individually, streamlining user experience for apps, merchants, and service providers who want to offer subscription models. Users set strict parameters, amount, frequency, operational expiration, ensuring security and protection against unauthorized withdrawals. Both XRP and issued assets can be used for subscriptions, which opens opportunities for creators of software as a service providers, protocols, and financial products to implement automated payment flows. Impact for project and developers. Projects building on the XRP space can become early adopters of this new feature, contributing data and feedback to shape its mainnet rollout. Automated on-chain subscriptions will support business models that require regular payments, streaming services, memberships, software as a service, decentralized financial products, and enhancing XRP Ledger's competitiveness and attracting new users and new use cases. This capability bridges a major gap versus traditional finance rails, with other lending chains making the XRP Ledger more attractive for enterprise and consumer payment innovation. These are the broader implications as well. We did go over some of this. I don't want to repeat myself. Here is XRP ETF odds hit 93% by the end of the year. Whale scooped 150 million, 200K plus new wallets stacking, institutions lining up. The 450% run wasn't the top. Fundamentals haven't even been priced in yet. This setup feels nuclear. And then here is Brad Garlinghouse years ago talking about the future for Ripple and XRP.
Here in Singapore, I believe you get paid once a month. In the United States, you get paid once every 2 weeks. Has everybody thought about why you get paid once a month or once every 2 weeks? It comes down to the friction of payments. And if we can remove the friction of payments, why can't you get paid every day? Or even more crazily, why don't you get paid every hour or every second? You could have a stream of value showing up in your whatever repository of value. Now, why you need to get paid every second, I'm not sure. But I do think there's a lot of dynamics that have been built around getting paid every 2 weeks or getting paid every month. And as we remove the friction of payments and make that dramatically easier, I think you're going to see secondary and tertiary effects that are very difficult to predict, just like we couldn't have predicted Grab 20 years ago.
All right. And then also too here, visualizing the end game for XRP, every major currency is becoming a CBDC. The IMF already has SDR and reserve assets. Plug blockchain into that system, and XRP is the missing piece for ESDRs. Call me crazy, but this setup is what we've been waiting for. And so you look at all of these different currencies, XRP as the middle bridge asset, where you're talking about connecting all of these financial institutions or financial market infrastructures, and you have XRP as that bridge asset, if you have RLUSD or RL, any of these other currencies, this is where the entire world can start using the XRP ledger for settlement if they so choose to. And when we're talking about saving hundreds of billions of dollars per year, banks are looking at that and saying, hey, we're really going to need that. Banks have some crazy unrealized losses right now from the bond market just wreaking havoc for the last 5 to 10 years. And so banks really need to start saving on this capital. And this is going to be a big way that they can do that. We also got big news this week that NASDAQ is moving to blockchain solutions for tokenized stocks and different assets. You also have BlackRock, the world's largest asset managers, exploring putting ETFs on chain. Remember, BlackRock has been in this space testing out the waters here for the last year. Now, BlackRock is looking to bring that $8 to $10 trillion asset under management on chain. And this is really where things can get extremely interesting. If it's good enough for the largest asset manager on the planet, it is good enough for everybody else. And we did see BlackRock, Ondo, and Ripple working together to tokenize US treasuries on the XRP ledger. You also have Ripple working with Open Eden to do something very similar. What we need to do is find new ways to lock up XRP, reduce that circulating supply, and really let that price start flying. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thank you for joining me here. I hope you learned something. If you did, you can like the video. You can leave a comment down below. And thank you so much for your time. Aloha.
I have just built a course for beginners, intermediaries, and experts of XRP to better understand the XRP ledger and Ripple, the company. If you're interested in getting that course absolutely free, there's a link down in the description. Please let me know what you think after you've taken the course. Aloha.